Okay, we've now got all the inserts in. We've just cut them all off at the bottom, got it ready for the right length. So now we need to what we call resize the actual insert so a valve physically will fit in it. To do that, it's called broaching, and there's 3 different size broaches have to be driven through. We've got to start off with a smallish one, and then once that goes through easily, then we step up to the middle one, and then the next size you go up. So, and there's only 0.01 0.02 of a millimetre variation virtually in the sizing of the steps. On here you've got 2 little round balls machined onto it. They're slightly different sizes between each one, so it starts out a fraction smaller on that one, a little bit bigger on this one. So these are 7.92 or 94, I think it is, that we start at. So it's just under 8 mil. We've got to get to just a fraction under 8 mil or about 8 mil, but by the time we get to using the 4th one, it just depends. I may stop, and then we will, if I think we don't need to go to the 4th one, we will actually hone the guide to give a nice smooth finish, because driving these through, they do finish up with little bits of high-low spots all the way through. And there's a special valve guide hone that we will put through, so we'll show you how that works as well. And that will give us a nice smooth bore, like the guide should be, not opposed to a high-low, high-low, high-low spot. So these need to be well oiled. It's quite noisy because it's slow work going through. We can't hammer them through too quickly. If I initially hit too hard on my first resizing, what can happen is it will actually cause the insert to actually let go and start sliding down inside the guide, and that's the last thing we want to do. And if that happens, we've then got to take the guide liner out and start all over again. So while I have made that mistake once in my life, I've only made it once, so I now know definitely not to get too much of a hurry on. So when you think it's tight and you're hammering away at it, you go, just take it slow. Even using an air hammer gets you into trouble. I mean, I've worked in lots of places in the past where particularly the apprentices go, well, we can do that twice as quick as you guys can. And then they come to you and go, why is this guide insert halfway down the guide? So it's a bit of a problem. So slow is always good. All right, so this is the right, I've just measured these up, so we'll just show you what we do. You should always, even the markings may or may not be right, so just check them with a reasonably good quality vernier. So this is, the first one is 791, 791, and it goes to 794. So the next one will go from 796 probably, up 0.2 again. So you've got to lubricate them well. So on with some oil, just normal engine oil's all you need. Because if we don't oil it, they get dry. So we just need a bit of the oil to fit down in there as well. So again, in a workshop where you were doing lots of them, everybody uses an air hammer to drive them, but we're not worrying today, and I didn't bring it with me, seeing as I had to come especially to do this job for Mike, some 200 kilometres away. So I hope he feels guilty.
I do.
So, noise, so on with the ear-muffs, and away we go. because I've driven through a second time, it obviously goes a little bit easier. I prefer to always put them through twice to get sizing a little more accurate. So once that's finished, we need to step up to the next size. So again, they should be in the right order, but I'll just check. 795 to 797. So we now should start to check with an actual valve to see if it wants to fit, because it's going to be close. So I now need to find where Mike has hidden these brand new valves.
In that box under that rag you just picked up.
Look at that. So definitely it's close. So we may not actually go for the third one. What we'll do is we'll go back and put this one through, and we might have to go straight to the actual honing from here onwards. Alright, based on what that measures and feels like, it probably didn't need the third one. I still need to hone it. You can just feel it a little bit tight, but I will just hone this one directly to size. It's very, very close. So now after we've broached those valve guides inserts, all the material had to go somewhere. So that if we look down here now, we've got about 1 millimetre of the insert hanging outside the guide. So I now need to trim that back. So we'll do that using the original K-line tool for actually boring the guides out, because it's the right size. So we just pop him in it. So do that one like so. It's got that one back. We'll go over the exhaust and do the same thing on there. And then we'll need to grab the die grinder and just take a little burr off the top edge. Perfect. So now this is a K-line or sun and hone for doing lapping valve guides. So there's little tiny lapping stones on either side on here, and this is an actual, what we call a lapping mandrel, so that we can keep the stones nice and parallel. So the first thing we should do is make sure that this is nice and parallel by just lapping the stones, and then from there onwards we'll insert this device down in here. There's a little tiny release here that's got a little tiny tapered shaft that runs down there, so that allows the stone that's just sitting there to be collapsed in enough so we can actually fit it inside the guide, and then we can adjust the tension by screwing this little device in on this end here, so we can put tension on as to how tight it is on the guide. Obviously, being a bronze material, we don't need to be taking too much out, so we've got to be just a little bit careful the way we use it, otherwise you'll finish up with too loose of a clearance. So first off, let's pop him back in here. We'll get this guy onto the end here. Find my lapping oil wherever I put it, over here. So we just need to make sure this is nice and parallel, so just by hanging on to it in a nice straight line like that, we can that should be enough. If you do this regularly every time you use them, the stones stay in really good working order. Give that a bit of a wipe off. Now, again, a little bit of lapping oil, so we don't want to do this too dry. So just a I'll just turn this around the other side. So releasing the trigger, hopefully that will allow it to collapse enough to go in, which it does. It's a bit loose, so we now need to tighten him up. Just a little bit of tension on it, I can just feel. So we'll back him off a little bit. So that should be enough. So we'll just put the little brush down, clean out some of the materials in there. So now this is where we need to make sure that we use the same valve and the same head, because when you mic these up you sometimes find they're slightly different sizes. So these two valves are going to go to this head, so we're on the inlet, so let's check to see if that will actually fit in. So not quite. Starting one to go, so we definitely know we're on the right track. As you can see, it should drop under its own weight, so it's very, very close to being about where the right clearance on an inlet. Exhaust, we need a little bit more clearance because of the temperatures. So that's about where we would want it, maybe a fraction looser, but I'll just give that another clean. Give this a wipe off. I would be happy to leave that. At the time we do the valve seat cutting and with a mandrel running in there, it'll make it a fraction looser. So I would be quite happy to leave that in that position. You can see it just dropping on more or less under its own weight. I can probably give it just a fraction more if I really want to. So we'll just. Beautiful. And there's no movement. The best part is you need to check for side movement. We just feel just a fraction of a movement. All these have a specification, but usually with most people who work in engine reconditioning or experience in the area, we all go by feel. Most of us, after a while, we certainly don't have to worry about measuring too much. So you can just feel, this is dry, remember, so in the real world, even in the engine, there will be a small smidgen of oil still getting down there to help lubricate it, so it's not running completely dry. But that's exactly where we want it. So that's the inlet done. So now we need to exhaust. Remember, I think this head we did a double broaching or not? Yes. So it's a bit tight, but it's close. So this one will probably require a lot less honing. Again, a little bit of lapping oil. We need a little bit more clearance on the exhaust, so we'll just give this a little bit of a run on the hone. and I can just feel just an ever so slight amount of movement in it. Job done. That's how easy it is to hone the guides, and we've now got nice smooth bores, so that minimum wear rate, good lubrication, and a better life out of both the guide and the valve. So now we just need to do the other head, and then we can get on with valve seats.